Hey, sports fans, Larry, Eater, and Stuart Weir here. It's for one of your favorite podcasts, Athletics Chat. This is one of the end of the year podcasts that we do. We're doing it at the end of November 2025, and we're talking about some of the things that we enjoyed immensely from this year. Stuart, great to see you.
Great to be here.
Good. Mm, just getting my third cup of coffee with a little bit of cream for the day. So much enjoyed getting time with you at the European indoors, and
Mm,
that was really our event this year,
was.
because I have been traveling for a few years and you were
Mm,
covering everything for us, and then you were unable to go to the world
yeah.
outdoors, and so I had to miss you from afar. I got to
Mm,
see a few of your mates from Athletics Weekly, and um, it was, typical world championships, as we could tell our dear readers. Um, they always seem to pick a place that's very warm.
yeah.
But Japan, you were at Japan during the
The
Olympics,
Olympics.
and
Yeah.
the I wanted to share something with you, and I don't even know if you got to see that. So I went to both the opening and closing LOC pressers, and I recorded them.
Mm,
And the head of the LOC was the Olympic medalist in the marathon, a Japanese woman, which was unusual again because
mm,
almost everybody in those organizations is men. But during her talk, you could tell it was very heartfelt and emotional. And she started to tear up. And it was translated for me later that for the Japanese, there was a huge frustration in not being able to go to the Tokyo Olympics.
yes. Yes.
And so the World Championships
Mm,
became kind of a substitute. And
mm, mm,
Stuart, we had great crowds every night. I mean,
mm,
and
yeah.
even during the day. I mean, I went to the morning sessions, and then trying to get around on the marathon course was rather challenging because there was a lot of people out there,
Mm, mm,
and the
yeah.
walks. I mean, the
Yeah.
Japanese love, you
Mm,
put something on the roads, they're going to be there. You're going to get
yeah.
250,000 on a bad day. But
Mm,
I thought that in terms of championships that I've been to, um, and that was my 15th World Outdoors. Um,
mm,
I thought it was one of the best.
mm,
I thought the competitions were good. I thought the crowds were enthusiastic. Um, I thought the stadium was pretty good.
mm,
The media organization. The thing that frustrates me about the media, and the working place was great. The Every night though, as you know, the World Athletics site goes down, and on several of the evenings, it was down the entire session.
mm,
And I talked to the LOC people about it during the time, and they said that the Japanese had been warned that they needed to invest in IT, and they just didn't do it. And
mm,
but we've seen that in every place in the world we've had a Worlds. I
mm.
remember it in Sevilla in 1999.
Just going back to
Good.
the Olympics, of course,
Yeah,
the Japanese people got the worst of both worlds because
yeah,
they had to pay for the Olympics and they
yeah.
weren't allowed to go to it.
Yes, I mean they lost. I seem to recall that they lost almost $5 billion because of the
Mm,
ticket sales,
yeah.
and you wonder how they recouped that, or
Mm,
that's part of the thing that the U.S. worries about, I think, with the Olympics too, because
mm,
we don't have government. Well, we do have government involvement now, um, but in the past there hasn't been government involvement in those kind of events, and that's what's made a World Athletics very cautious about coming over here. And
mm,
um, for the world champs that were in Eugene, which were pretty unspectacular. I mean, there was great performances,
mm.
but it really was treated like a little bitty track meet in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it did not have the grandeur or the uh, legacy of
Mm.
a world championships. And in fact,
Yeah.
the U.S. Federation is still paying for it. I mean, each
Mm.
year I see something in their tax returns that they're paying $4 to $6 million. I mean, they lost their shirts,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be getting much better. I mean, UK has pulled out of their doldrums, but
Mm.
US has had a very difficult time.
Yeah.
Um, the how would you share with our readers about the way the majority of British sports media spoke about British performances at the World Championships?
Well, I think the first thing to say is that if you're talking of people who were actually there,
Hmm.
it was probably the lowest attendance I can remember. I mean, I didn't go because of a health issue, but I think in terms of written press, there were only three
Yeah.
British journalists there. Um, um, just because track and field reporting in the UK, in terms of newspapers, is very low priority.
Hmm.
I mean, I remember going to a Diamond League 10 years ago with about six writ British written press people whose job was to write about track and field.
Yeah.
Whereas now, um, the take the Times, our most prestigious newspaper, Rick Broadbent, who is the track and field writer, also does golf. He also does boxing. He does a
Hmm.
bit of sailing.
Yeah.
He does a bit of general sport. And the other person for the Times, um, again does a lot of other sports. So that's just the way it has gone. That newspaper, first of all, people buy newspapers a lot less than they used to,
Hmm.
and it seems that soccer gets 10 times as much coverage as any other sport.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it was so I was in the mix zone, and you know how I dislike doing the mix zone, but
Yeah.
I did it a lot, and I have a newfound. I've always respected how hard you worked in the mix zone,
Mm.
Stuart, but I got to tell you, it's more of a pain in the butt now than it's ever been, and
Mm.
the I was able to interview Jake Whiteman,
Mm.
Isaac Nadir. I did not get the bronze medalist. But
Mm.
Jake was great as always. He's
Mm.
he's he's
Yeah.
one of those athletes, and a shout out to Jake and Dina and Amy. Oh, and Amy said hello to you when I told her that you and I write together.
Right.
She put her hand on her heart and just said how she loves you. So I just thought you'd like
Well,
that,
there you go.
and that was
Yes.
very sweet. And her,
Yeah.
it was really fun to see her Italian coach give her a hug after her medal. It was
Yes.
just, that was one of my favorite
Yes.
moments,
Yeah. Well,
because I
funny
good,
enough, two of the athletes I wanted to talk about were Jake and Amy.
good.
I mean, we all remember Eugene and Jake taking on Ingebrigtsen, passing him, winning, and his father on commentary losing his marbles and shouting, Jake Whiteman has won. He's my son, and I coach him, and he's world champion. And
I
then, of
always thought
course,
that
it,
was cool. Yeah.
it all fell apart because he got injured and
Mm.
couldn't run at all in 2023. So he
Yeah.
couldn't defend his title. And in 2024, he was still battling injury, but made it into the GB team for Paris. And in his literally the last rep on his last training session before Paris, he got injured and couldn't run in Paris.
Wow.
Then he did the unthinkable um, and changed coaches from his dad.
Yeah.
Ironically, from his dad to his potential future father-in-law.
See, I did
Uh,
not know that. What's his coach's name?
I was hoping you weren't going to ask me that.
We'll look.
Because
We'll look it up,
yeah,
and we'll
yes,
get it. I did not know about the potential
yes,
father-in-law. Wow. Okay.
and again, he didn't have his best season. He ran badly in London before the London Diamond League. Um, but in a way, perhaps the pressure was off him in Tokyo because nobody expected. I mean, clearly, Josh Kerr was going to win the race,
Yeah.
um, or Jakob if Jakob was fit. But uh, Jakob wasn't fit, and Josh got injured during the
Yeah.
race.
Yeah.
And so Jake made this amazing late run and for a moment looked as if he was going to win it again, but then just got pipped on the line. But I mean, I just think he's one of the nicest people in the sport.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be world champion in 2022 and have all the potential to milk that and earn real money, and then to be injured and not be able to run for over a year must have
Yeah.
been incredibly difficult to deal with.
Yeah. 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 The the suggestions are that his father has not taken it well that he left his training group. Um, and I was standing there in the mix zone when someone asked, um, how have you been able to talk to your dad yet? He just said he hoped he'd be able to. And that just made me feel sad, you know.
Well, yeah,
So
it's difficult, obviously, but what Jake said publicly
yeah,
was that they were arguing so much that he's lost a coach and gained a dad.
that's good. That's good. That's good. Well, that's the important thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched some guys as I was coming up coaching their kids, and
Mm,
it influenced me so much that when my son Adam threw the shot and the javelin, I
mm.
helped him learn, but I got another coach for him
Yeah.
because I wanted to be his dad. I did not want to
Yeah.
do the coach thing because I think
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes the coach thing to be
Yeah.
successful, there's an honesty there that
Mm,
is really uh, tough and
yeah.
pragmatist and all that kind of thing sometimes. So
Mm,
it's just you it yeah, I thought that I share with you watching Jake make that move. I thought I was
mm,
back in Eugene because I was sitting up high
mm,
enough in Tokyo, and afterwards I said, you started to move with 250. And he goes, yeah, a little earlier than Eugene. I said,
mm,
yeah. Um, but I got to tell you, Isaac Nadir, the Portuguese
mm,
athlete, I interviewed him afterwards, and his girlfriend, who medaled in Appledorn in the 1500 and the
mhm,
3000, she translated. But
mm,
the manager of the Portuguese Federation said that if there had been a soccer match that night in Lisbon, he wouldn't even be in the paper.
mm.
That's
Yeah.
how difficult it is. And I'm kind of going, wow, how many times is
Yeah.
a male from Portugal won the 1500 in the world?
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
think. I've got to go back a long,
Mm,
long time. Our
yeah.
oh my gosh, who's Mr. Kick? Well, yeah, there's several, but it
Mm,
just, I mean,
yeah.
but it's been a while. And Nadir never got any respect. I mean, he had the number two time in the world last year. I mean, he
Mm,
had great
yeah.
800 too. But boy, that was an exciting race. Talk about Amy Hunt,
I
please.
really like Amy.
Yeah.
Um, actually, I've got um, a couple of articles to send you about her because I had a good talk with her earlier in the season. Um, but she went to Italy
Hmm.
um, to work with Marco O'Reilly, and there was a group of British athletes there. There was Daryl Nita, there was uh, Jeremiah Azu, and a couple of others, and they all left except Amy. And
Wow.
Amy decided to stay.
Hmm.
And she cannot speak highly enough of her coach.
Yeah.
And also, her degree at Cambridge was on Renaissance history and literature. And so she loves being in Italy.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
she said that on her day off, she goes to a museum
Oh, nice. Nice.
and just immerses herself in the culture.
Yeah.
And of course, a year ago in Paris, she didn't make the British team for the 100 or the 200, just the relay.
Wow.
And so she's made a lot of progress in the last year. And she has a lot of self confidence without being arrogant. She talks about having uh, great top end speed, and she
Mhm.
really showed that when she powered home to get her silver medal. Um, and one of the pieces I'm going to write for you is about her experience of being a student athlete at Cambridge,
Oh,
which
yeah.
couldn't be more different from uh, the US model of getting a scholarship and having the university make everything. I mean, at one stage, Amy told me that she said, I'm running in such and such an athletics meeting. Can I submit my paper a week late? And the answer she got was, you can repeat the year.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, no. It's
And so that's a great story. I'll get that to you
I
when you
love that.
catch up with posting. Yeah,
Yeah.
but she's just a lovely girl,
Mhm.
and I mean she just enjoys what she's doing. And she had a bad injury when she was at university, and she's come back from that now, and I think she's very much on the up.
Hmm. Yeah, I was very impressed with her 200 race.
Yeah.
Um, where do you put Dina Asher Smith right now?
I really don't know because Dina Dina is a very private person,
Right.
and Dina left Coach Flo about 3 months before the World Championships,
Yeah.
but she wouldn't say what her coaching arrangements were.
Hmm.
I mean, she's back in London, but I do not know who is coaching her because she declined to say anything about it. She said she would say something in the winter, but I haven't seen anything from her. Um,
There's a recent report that she's moved to Florida and
okay.
she's going to be coached in the US. And I'm trying to, I'll get the coach's
Mm,
name for you.
yeah.
Uh, but it's not Lance, I don't believe. Um,
Mm,
but it's very interesting.
mm,
Um, and that just came up because I on the same day I
yeah.
got that, I got a note that Marcel Jacobs was back over here,
Right.
and
Yeah.
had he's
Yeah.
being coached by Michael Ford, Michael
Mm,
Johnson's coach.
mm.
Um, did you
Michael
see, good?
Michael Johnson, he's had one or two problems recently.
Yes, and the most recent news, my friend, is pretty sad.
Mm,
So what I understood was a month ago that he had got received funding to give half payments to all the athletes.
hmm.
Now it seems like those payments are being held up because he gave an ultimatum, or his law
Yes.
firm did, that the vendors have to take 50 cents on the dollar,
Yeah.
and it has to be unanimous, or they file for bankruptcy. Well, World
Yeah.
Athletics,
Mm,
ironically, is the one that's going to force them into bankruptcy. And World
mm,
Athletics is only owed 30 grand. The line that World Athletics is using is that, well, we're not going to approve this until we see you've paid the athletes in
yeah.
full. And
Yeah.
here's the deal. This is half of the money would be something. This is in my mind, you know. Um,
mm,
World Athletics doing this is rather short-sighted. There's no way in God's green earth, I was going to use another word, but I'm just trying to be respectful right now. There's no reason in God's green earth that Michael is going to be able to exist unless he pays everything off.
yeah.
He may get an agreement now to take 50 cents on the dollar, but to get to the athletes to come in, he's going to
Mm,
have to go into escrow and say, okay, I'm paying you back the half that I owe you plus the money for this year.
yes.
And what I just saw, there's an article in the Athletic, which is the New York Times sports section.
Mm,
There's also a fine article by Matt Lawton
hmm.
from the UK,
Yes.
which did put it all in perspective. Matt does a wonderful job a lot of times, you know,
Mm.
and
Yeah, I like
kudos to
it.
him. Yeah. Um, but what it said was Michael has hired a firm, and it looks to me like a British firm because they're talking about insolvency as opposed to bankruptcy,
Hmm.
which means they're probably following British law. Um, the the vendors, most of the vendors are like, well, we can sue him. The problem is if he files for bankruptcy, they're going to get 10 cents on the dollar. Right now, they're being offered 50 cents on the dollar. Um, as a person who's owned businesses for 40 years, I've had 5 or 6 companies file for bankruptcy on me that owed me a lot of money. One of them I got fully paid. I worked a side deal out with them. Um, but everybody else, I accepted the 50 cents and one time 30 cents on the dollar because I
Mm.
knew that is all they had.
Yes. Yeah.
And I I feel bad for Michael. I feel worse for the athletes and the vendors.
Yes. Yes.
And if the Wall Street Journal article is true that Michael knew during the first meet that he was not getting the additional funding he needed, then he screwed up even more than many people are giving him credit for. Do
Yeah.
I understand the part about hey man, money's tight, but we really got to if we do this, we'll be able to bring it in. Yeah, you know, I've had that situation myself, you know,
Mm.
where sponsors pulled out after my heart surgery.
Yeah.
Um, as you know, it
Mm.
got terribly difficult and
Mm.
it's
Yeah.
finally being back on the road now for about a year and a half, you know, brands are
Mm.
rediscovering the
Mm.
quality of work we do.
Mm.
But it takes time, you know, and
Yeah.
it's scary and it's challenging. And I don't wish it on anybody, but I
Mhm.
think that this is going to blow up in Michael's face. What are your thoughts?
Yes. Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, the article by Matt Lawson talked about what he's going to do next year.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I
yeah,
can't think anyone's going to um, welcome him with open arms next year if he hasn't paid last year.
yeah, yeah. No, I don't think he'll get. World Athletics will not give him the accreditation or the licenses to do the meets.
Yeah.
USATF will not because there's no way in hell
Yeah.
Max Siegel is going to help him in
Mm.
any way, shape, or form. European athletics, it's just going to go. You've hurt some of our athletes, and
Yeah. Yeah.
the brands right now, you know, in the old days the brands would have taken care of the mess.
Hmm.
Um, and many thought that because of Michael's past relationship with Nike and all the money they gave him, but
Mm.
this is a different era, and the people that are at Nike now are way different than the people who did the deal with Michael in 1992,
Hmm.
in
Yeah.
1996, you know, and
Yeah.
uh, I can't. And the biggest thing is in working with the running brands, do they love the sport? Yes. but they are businesses. So they've got a certain amount they can spend on sports marketing, a certain amount they can spend on advertising. They now break up advertising, what they call paid advertising, which is the kind of stuff they do with me, but also earned advertising, which is when I do an article on a Nike athlete. They see
Hmm.
that as, they've given me access to an interview. So they
Yeah.
provided something and I'm doing it. So they call that earned advertising. And, I
Hmm.
go back and forth on that. But if it doesn't fit into their plans, they're not going to do it.
Hmm.
You've really got to convince them
Yeah.
that what you're doing has some benefit, and that's the biggest challenge.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
How did you who did you think were the top European athletes in Tokyo?
Well, they certainly weren't British because we had a disastrous one. Um, I was actually thinking just before you said that about the women's 800,
Yeah,
where
let's
where
talk about that.
Keely went into the race thinking that she was the best in the world
Yeah,
and found out that she was only the second best in her training group.
yeah, yeah. No, that was a very interesting race. It showed the I think it showed several things. I think it showed the
Mm.
quality of Kenyan women,
Yeah.
and the story. There was 11 medals that the Kenyan athletes won, and nine of them
Mm.
were women. And our
Yeah.
friend Justin Legat just wrote. I asked him to write a
Mm.
piece last week about why
Mm.
the Kenyan women are doing so well. So he went
Mm.
back to 1983 and did the
Mm.
research. It's a beautiful piece. So I'll
Mm.
get that up
Mm.
after I get your stuff posted
Mm.
because I'm about a week behind.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the but someone had said to me, I was at the Nike Athlete House for a little bit, and I was chatting with some people, and I was asking them about the women's 800, and they said, "Well, if Keely can hold up," and what I hadn't
Mm.
thought about was,
Mm.
she went 300 and what, 87 days without racing,
Yeah. Yeah.
and she comes out and runs a 154, and
Yeah.
she probably did that off muscle memory, and then she did a
Yeah.
155,
Yeah.
and then she has to come back and run two very difficult,
Yes.
that
Yes.
the 800, and so
Yeah.
there was nothing else there. Georgia, Hunter Bell, on the other hand,
Mm.
oh my gosh, that woman is uh, quite impressive.
Yes. I mean, it was interesting that she had the choice of doing 800, 1500, or both.
Hmm.
And I think if the setup had been better, she would have done both. Now,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
spoken to her about it. This is just speculation. But as you know, the athlete hotel and the warm-up area were both some distance
yeah,
from the stadium.
yeah.
And she said that she was very open to doing both. But when they actually looked at it, she thought that, after you've run a race late in the evening, done your warm down, got the bus to do your warm down,
Yeah.
then got another bus to get to the hotel, it was going to be 2 or 3 in the morning before she was getting to bed. Whereas if it had been a setup where she could get quickly from one to the other, then she might well have done that. I mean, it's interesting that um, when they're talking about the next Olympics having the women's 100 all in one day,
Yeah.
and Julian Alfred and her people have said, we certainly won't be giving you a quote thinking this is wonderful because we don't really want Julian running 3 times in a day, then having to do all the media
Oh my
and
gosh. Yeah.
getting home at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
having been at the stadium at 10 o'clock in the morning for her prelim.
Yeah. What I couldn't understand, Stuart, was there was a track directly across the street
Mm.
And they were not really using that.
Mm.
The warm-up track was 15 minutes away, 15
Yeah, when they,
kilometers away, excuse me.
I mean, the warm-up track for the Olympics was fine, but they said that it had been built on.
Wow.
So I don't know. I mean, it's things like that that make or break the event for the athletes. You know, it may be
Mhm.
great for the sponsor, it may be great for the crowd, but um,
It was a very interesting setup because so the when we took our credentials, it was in the facility across the road from the track,
Mhm.
and they did it very nicely. Um, they had bento boxes there during lunchtime and stuff, but it was a little ways to go, and they had a parking lot where they had people bring trucks in for food, and the food was lovely. I got my coffee there. I got some ramen there a couple times, um, and some Thai food. The problem
Mhm.
was there wasn't enough media going to it, so the trucks left.
Mhm.
So we kind of lost out on that. And
Mhm.
the getting around the stadium, I mean, I stayed in a Hyatt hotel about 15 minutes away. It
Mhm.
cost the equivalent of about 10 euros each way in a taxi, and the taxis always got there on time.
Mhm.
Um, when I would come in during right before the marathon, I learned be there a half hour before so you can get through everything. But besides that, it was pretty easy to get around,
Yeah.
and there were many more people. And then we found a
Mhm.
little ramen place across the street to eat at that was open till 3 a.m. And my brother and I
Mhm.
were in there a couple nights, and a TV crew had come in because they wanted to see how many tourists and stuff were in there. And
Mhm.
but we were eating wonderful bowls of ramen for $8 and a
Mhm.
bowl.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
we went to these little divey places where the only ones who
Mhm.
spoke English, but you could
Mhm.
point at things and you could order stuff, so it worked great.
Yeah, yeah,
But
been
but
there.
but the whole logistics thing, as you said, Stuart, I tend to agree with Trevor Painter and Jenny Meadow that it had been very difficult for Georgia to do that.
Yeah.
And but I also find it very curious how Trevor encouraged both of them.
Mm.
And that's a skill because I think that
Mm.
him being able to do that and the athletes not getting jealous, that's
Yes, I mean,
pretty.
I've never talked to them about that, but I mean, I remember talking to Laura Muir, and she said the time that she and Gemma Ricci had the same coach,
Hmm.
um, she said even though they're friends, they wouldn't talk about the race beforehand. Each of
Yeah.
them would have their race plan from their coach, but they
Hmm.
wouldn't tell the other
Yeah.
what they were
Wow.
going to do. So I mean, it could have been that one of them was saying, I mean, it's put equally, both of them are trying to think, how can I beat the other one?
Sure, sure. That's
You know,
that's
do
what
I
it's all
do
about.
I
Yeah.
go out fast or do I wait?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's that must have been really really interesting. Um, I can remember a coach who had two sprinters,
Hmm.
two British sprinters, telling me that they trained together every day, but
Yeah.
the week before the national trials, they said we don't want to train together this week.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
for this one week, we're enemies, not friends.
Yeah. No, no, no. It makes a ton of sense. I look at what Dennis Mitchell does with Sha'Carri Richardson
Mm.
and Melissa Jefferson Wooden
Mhm.
and T.T. Terry, and I
Mhm.
see that, and I also always thought that Jerry Schumacher, when the Bowerman Club was so big, was that was you'd have a couple of kids battling for medals,
Mhm.
and which made it very, very interesting. Um, Getting back to the top Europeans, I'm going to
Mm,
nominate a couple. I thought
yeah.
Femke Bol winning three medals was
Mm,
pretty impressive. Um,
absolutely.
Mondo is always
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
He comports himself
Mm,
so well. Um,
mm,
I thought that the Jimmy Gressier, you know,
yeah.
he I've always liked the French distance runner. He's got a lovely
Mhm,
sense of humor. And I
mm.
recall you being at, I think, the European Cross a few years ago.
No.
What was it? Did you never
Mm.
go to the European
I've
Cross? Did you
never
go?
been to that. No, it's
Oh
too cold
God.
and muddy.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to go this year, so we'll see if I can
Yeah.
pull it off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then maybe you sent me pictures. It was the one
Yes, I did.
where
Pictures. Yeah. Yeah.
Jimmy slid into the mud
Mm.
across the line, and it
Yeah.
became
Yeah.
a viral moment. But
Yeah.
he and Mr. Almgren from Sweden,
Mm.
two Swedes in the top three in the 10,000.
Yeah.
Jimmy's kick was brilliant, and he
Mm.
outkicked Yomif Kajelta, the guy who
Yeah.
has the world indoor record at the mile,
Yeah.
and the half
Yeah.
marathon. I mean, Kajelta is one of the most talented athletes I've ever
Mhm.
seen. He just seems to be missing that part about winning the big one.
Mm.
And then Gressier comes back and sees in the 5,000 Cole
Yeah.
Hawker moving from 13th to first. And as
Mm.
soon as Cole gets by him, he follows Cole and he
Yeah.
wins the second medal. And, you know, I got to tell you, that was
Mm.
a highlight for me.
Yeah.
It was brilliant and it
Mhm.
was exciting.
Mm.
Um, it was also, Mondo, each world record is different that Mondo
Yes.
does,
Yeah.
and I thought that he was I just thought it was exceptional,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
you've had time with him, I spent 9 hours in an airport with him in 2023 trying to get
Mm.
from Eugene to San Francisco with him,
Mm.
and he was flying on to Sweden. I was
Mm.
flying to Wisconsin, and
Mm.
he had every reason to lose his temper, and he did not. We just
Yeah.
chatted away. He did selfies with kids. He
Yeah.
relaxed, and he's just
He
the
just seems to be a really nice guy.
yeah, and it was
Mm.
funny at I forgot to share this with you at the Prefontaine. Um, He read a note from his Swedish grandfather reminding him that his dad had won at the Prefontaine in
Mm. Mm.
93. And I
Yeah.
asked him if I could, do a little video about it.
Mm.
And we did the video, and I said, Mondo, I saw your dad that day. And his dad's right by him. And he goes, yeah, Larry's one of the few that's still alive from that time. And it was we had a good, nice time.
Mm.
But,
Yeah.
um, with Mondo, what Mondo didn't know was that there was a Swedish coach, Ghost Homer, who was the inventor of fartlek workouts. And Homer was a
Mm.
decathlete in 1920 and 1912. He also did the 110 hurdles and medaled
Mm.
in both. And
Wow.
so he was
Mm.
like, wow, I said, yeah, I'm a geek. It's okay, Mondo.
Yeah.
But Mondo's
You,
fun. He's a good
mhm.
guy.
You mentioned Femke.
Yeah.
What do you make of her going for the 800?
I got to tell you, I think I sense with her a frustration
Hmm.
in that as long as Sydney McLaughlin-Lavrone's around, she will
Mm.
never be considered the top in her event.
Yeah.
And I asked Sydney if she would do the 800, and Sydney and I get along pretty well. She gave me a look of disdain, and it wasn't a mean look, it was a sweet
Hmm.
look of disdain in
Yeah.
that she just said, well, if coach asked me to do it, and never say never, but she does not want to do it. It's the same look that when I would ask Allison every time, Allison,
Mm.
when are you going to do the 400 hurdles? And she'd look at the back of the room. She says, you have to ask Coach Bobby. And so,
Yes.
because Bobby trained her as a hurdler, I mean,
Mm.
he would tell me, he said, Larry, she could go out and run 52 in the 400 hurdles. But, Sydney is such a talent. The getting back to Femke, I think Femke is trying to find an event that's hers. What do you think?
Yeah. I think it's fascinating,
Yeah, yeah,
but I don't know how good she'll be.
yeah, yeah.
Um, there's a lot of good 800 women,
Yes, yeah, yeah. And
and
she's yeah, she's it's so good at that. She's number two in the world in the
mm,
400 hurdles.
yeah,
Uh, number two is pretty damn good.
yeah.
Uh, you know,
Mm.
um, but
I mean,
go ahead.
mm. I was going to say I had an interview with her um, but 3 years ago, and she actually said to me, "I have to recognize that I might never win a global championship.
Yeah, yeah.
That's I train every day to do it,
Hmm.
but I have to recognize that I could run well and still never beat Sydney McLaughlin."
Yeah, yeah. No. I mean, the elephant in the room, Sydney McGough and LeBron.
Mm,
Sydney is before at the U.S. Champs. I got to meet her parents. I was at a New Balance event. Very
mm,
sweet. Uh,
mm,
the mom told me that Sydney was not happy with her 48.9 at the U.S. Champs. Understand? I thought she could run about 48.5. She comes to the Worlds, and you look and you see Marilino Paulino,
mm.
and you see um, our friend from Bahrain, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
going, she's fighting for a medal because I got asked on BBC, live,
Mm,
will
mm,
Sydney win the 400? I said she could.
mm,
I said, but I want her to get a medal at least. And
mm,
that's because I did not know. Sydney had told me in 2023 that it was going to take her a while to get the rhythm for the 400 flat. She said that was her
mhm,
problem. She needed to do that.
mm,
And I
mm.
held her at her word. Well, she runs that 400 semis and destroys Sonia Richards Ross American record.
Mm,
She runs 48.29, and I'm just going, yeah, she's under 48. She's going to do it. Well,
mm,
she goes under 48, the 47.88, and Paulino runs under 48,
mm,
and El Nasir runs a
mm,
bad race and runs 48.19. A
mm.
bad race at 48.19. And
Yeah.
so you're kind of going, all right. So I interviewed Paulino the next day at the Adidas headquarters, and Adidas and Molina tells me she's still going to pursue the 400, but she's starting the 800 next year. And so Paulino's going to be racing the 800 too.
Right. Mm.
So you got
Fascinating.
Paulino, you got Femke
Yeah.
Bol, you've
Yeah.
got Keeley, you've got
Hmm.
Georgia, you've got the myriad of Kenyan and Ethiopian runners.
Yeah.
You've
And
got
and
Audrey
Audrey
Wero.
Audrey Werrow, I was just
Oh
going to
my
say, yeah.
gosh, yeah, Audrey. I mean, you have a lovely piece on Audrey that
Mm,
I'm
mm,
posting today,
mm, mm.
and we've watched Audrey for several years
Yes. Yeah.
coming through the ranks. I mean, she's a
Yes.
wonderful example
Mm,
of the pragmatism in the Swiss athletic program. I mean, you look at
mm.
Umujingo Kambunji just had a little baby
Yes.
boy, Leon. So
Yes. Yeah.
congratulations, Mujingo. And I
Mm,
reposted your piece
mm.
on the Kambunji sisters, yeah,
Yes.
because they're
Yeah.
and Ditaji um,
Yes.
winning the 100 hurdles. Oh my gosh, that just,
Mm,
you know, and what's classy about both of them, and Stuart, I know you'll agree. I was talking to my girlfriend Kathy last night, and she said, what we need more in the world is gracious losers and classy winners, people that
yeah.
aren't being braggadocio,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the Kambunji sisters are
Yes.
lovely examples of that.
Yes.
But I got to
Yes.
tell you, so is Georgia Hunter Bell. The way she treated
Yes.
Keeley
Yeah.
with affection after that
Yeah.
race, that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
I just kind of go, we live in a
Yeah.
world now, Stuart, where
Yeah.
there's so much animosity. I mean, in my country,
Mm.
and I know
Yeah.
you're seeing it in yours too. I used to go to the UK and go, gosh, everybody's so darn polite.
Hmm. Yeah.
And now it's like we've all taken our gloves off and forgotten how to that we're
Hmm.
humans on this little
Yeah.
bitty planet. Um, but we need those examples, and that's
Yeah.
I look at them and I look at gosh, I look at Ry Benjamin and that four by
Mm.
four man. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
I mean that was
Mm. Yeah.
really tough for him.
Mm.
And the
Yeah.
funny thing about the four by four that I wanted to tell you was I was able to interview the athletes from Botswana in the individual 400. I got Jareem
Hmm.
because I've
Hmm.
known Jareem for 1,000 years, and
Yes. Yes, I
and
have
for
too.
him to get a medal was
Yeah.
just wonderful. And his
Yes.
coach Lance
Yeah.
Brahman said that of the 54 medals kids he's coached, that may be his most satisfying medal. And
Yeah.
that says a lot from Lance, right? Um,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
then, but I'm talking to the kids from Botswana. They
Mm.
are just really
Hmm.
nice kids. But they look at me and they go, "You're an American." I said,
Mm.
"Yes, sir." They said, "We're going to beat you guys in the 4x4." And they didn't say it mean or anything. They
Yeah.
said it with confidence and
Yeah.
class. And I said,
Yeah.
that's going to be a horse race. That we knew that was going to be great,
Yeah.
and that's what you and I
Mm.
love, man. I mean, we love
Absolutely.
the
Yeah.
races and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I want to finish up with Femke though, because you know how I move around.
Mm.
I am concerned too because I love Femke. I think that what she does for the sport,
Yes.
when we were in Apeldoorn, Kathy and I were just mesmerized when the mixed team won the 4x4 on the first night.
Yes.
I recorded that whole thing and
Mm.
I put it up every month or so.
Mm.
Then, she came back in the 4x4 for women, and I
Hmm.
found out later that Laurent, her Coach Muley, did not want her to run at all.
Hmm.
And she said, if I just run for the team, can I
Yeah.
do it? And he said, yes. And she followed that to the letter. She would
Mm.
not do an individual interview with us. She wanted the
Yeah.
group. So I did a
Yes.
nice interview with the group. And
Yes.
I got to tell you, it's really hard for Femke not to be your fave because she is just
Yeah.
very
Yes.
sweet and
Mm.
it's not that Sydney isn't nice when I do one
Hmm.
on one, but
Yeah.
when after she won the 400,
Mm.
she was obviously annoyed with a couple of the American media,
Mm.
and
Mm.
she thinks that they're really hard on her and kind of mean
Mm.
to her,
Yeah.
and they are. And
Yeah.
so she gave us four questions when we had a ton of stuff to ask her about.
Mm.
And and Jay Holder, who's the new communications director at USATF, who is fantastic. Um, I think one of the best we've ever had. He he knows when he can push, he knows when he can prod, he knows when he can suggest.
Mm.
He had to let
Hmm.
that one alone.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah.
the but
Mm.
yeah, no, I think that Femke is a tremendous athlete. I just hope that moving
Yeah.
to the 800 doesn't uh,
Yeah.
um, uh,
Indeed.
backfire on her. Um,
Mm.
I also interviewed Leonardo Fabri, the
Hmm.
Italian shot putter. What
Mm.
a wonderful person, lovely athlete. We got to talk about his training and everything too. His admiration of Ryan Krauser, but
Mm.
also he felt so bad beating Thomas Walsh, one of our dear friends
Mm.
who's won won Thomas Walsh has won 10 medals in 11 championships.
Yeah.
Think about that, right? We've
Mm.
seen almost every one of them, right? And
Mm.
he was in tears after that one. And I I didn't know even how to ask him a question. I'm going to follow
Mm.
up with him with a Zoom and just talk to him a little bit because he's just he's so much fun to have in the sport.
Mm.
Um, my favorite interview in Tokyo, I got to tell you, Stuart, was Ryan. Uh,
Mm.
well, Jake was great because Jake was just
Yeah.
so happy, so genuine, and
Yes.
he always is. It just
Yes. Yes. Yes.
but Ryan could have given us 3 minutes and he gave us 16 minutes. And which is huge in the
Mhm.
mix zone, as you know.
Yeah.
It's
Mm.
we need to explain to our dear readers, and you have much more experience about the mix zone. Would you please explain a mix zone to our readers?
Um, you have a barrier with the journalists on one side, the athletes on the other. Uh, Sometimes you have a minder with the athlete. Um, if it's a really famous athlete, perhaps the event will have a minder with them, like Shelly Ann would have a minder. If it's a British athlete, they will have somebody from UK Athletics.
Yeah.
And UK Athletics impress on athletes. They have a responsibility to talk to the media. So
Okay.
they will be told there will be people waiting there. We'll be there to make sure you don't get asked any stupid questions, but basically you got to do it. Uh, but you get other athletes who really just want to get through as quickly as possible, don't don't really want to do it, feel it's an imposition, and that is the frustrating bit, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see that the American athletes are getting much better. The younger athletes are
Mm,
fantastic because they
mm,
know Tara Davis Woodall,
mm,
incredible. Ryan, incredible. I got to
mm,
tell you, my two most popular videos, and you would have predicted it even if I hadn't told you, was
mm.
Sandy Morris and Katie
Yeah,
Moon. Uh,
yeah, mm,
I got I got them both. Katie was just getting ready to leave because they were supposed
yeah,
to be doing the big,
yeah,
medal presser, and they canceled them all, and
yeah,
which
mm,
infuriates me. Um,
mm,
so I get Katie. I said, Katie, are you okay with doing a minute? And she goes, Yeah, we'll put up with you. And she was really
mm,
sweet. And so,
yeah,
but I asked Katie and Sandy a question the same. I said, You both have won golds, you both have won silvers, you both have won bronze. Sometimes you've won nothing. Would you please explain to our readers how satisfying it is to win a medal of any color at a world
yes,
championship? And they
yeah,
both love the question. Sandy loved it because
mm,
she was able to talk about
mm,
the injuries, being away from her hubby for 6 months, or
yeah,
reptiles and all that stuff.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
teased her about the reptiles, and
mm,
she appreciates you checking in on them. So,
yes,
but yeah, they're both so good for the sport, and the
mhm,
majority of athletes are like that if you get them a chance. And I
mm,
actually used a translator to interview Uziel Munoz, the shot putter from Mexico, who
mm,
surprised everybody in the silver. And
mhm,
I
mm,
asked Leonardo, I said, "Tell me about him." He goes, "Larry, guy's a good thrower." And Ryan said, "Yeah." He goes, "I got to tell you," he said, "he surprised me on this one, but he shouldn't have because he's
mm,
really been throwing well."
yeah,
So there's that fraternity in
yeah,
the throws. And
yeah,
that's why I'm infuriated that World
mm,
Athletics is not
mm,
including the shot put at the Ultimate Games. It makes
right,
no sense. It's
yeah,
one of the most
yeah,
popular events, Stuart.
yeah,
You know how many people,
yeah,
I mean, we put stuff up on the
mm,
throws and the jumps. We
yeah,
get crazy numbers.
yeah,
You did that series with Katie and Sandy and
yes,
Holly and
yeah,
their coach. We did like four of them,
yeah,
and we were getting 20,000 downloads of a story
right,
in
yeah,
24 hours. It
mm,
was
wow,
incredible, and we get good
mm,
numbers,
yeah,
but it
mm,
was
yeah,
partly because they're so honest,
mm,
right? You
mm.
know?
My one of my favorite pressers of the year
Yeah.
was Paris
Uh-huh.
when there was Sandy and Katie.
Oh, nice.
And one of the questions they were asked is, what do you do to relax? And of course, Sandy talked about the reptiles. And Katie said, I don't really have a hobby. And Sandy said, if you ever want to keep snakes, I'm your girl.
Yeah, the Paris pressers for
Yeah,
our dear readers are
yeah,
some of the best press
yeah,
events. I mean, I've saved some from 2011
mm,
and 12. I've a Blanca Vlasic from
Oh, yes.
2014, 15. You remember that
Yeah.
time? It was, I think it was just you and me, and
Yeah.
she sat with us and explained her
Yeah.
Achilles problems and how
Mm,
painful it was after she jumped even to walk. And you were
yeah.
just kind of going, you're trying not to get tears in your eyes. You're kind of going, why is
I
she doing that?
remember in Paris saying to Blanca at the presser, any chance I could have a quarter of an hour with you? And she might have vastly, Larry.
Yeah,
She said, sure, we'll meet in the bar in an hour and have a glass of wine.
that's awesome. That now, see, that's unique. That's a cool one. I'm
Mm,
totally impressed.
yeah.
Totally impressed.
But just going back to Sandy a moment, Sandy told
Yeah,
me a really interesting story, which may shock you or may not.
yeah.
Um, that when she was over in Europe, her husband had to feed one of the snakes,
Okay.
and the snake only ate live rats.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. I don't think I could do that, Stuart.
Well, she wasn't sure he would be able to do it, but apparently he was.
Wow, that's amazing. Um, the U.S. performances I thought were pretty good.
Mm,
I was disappointed with Donovan Brazier,
mm,
but Donovan had such a great year, and he came back from 5 years of nightmares to do well
yeah.
in the champs. Cole Hawker in the 5,000 was brilliant. That
Mm,
1,500, him being DQ'd, he did
yes.
push people around, but it's and I defended him on
Mm,
social media, and boy, I
mm,
got attacked 99 to
mm,
1 that hey, he should have
mm,
been kicked out. So
yeah.
uh the I thought Rye Benjamin in the
Mm,
400 hurdles,
hmm,
obviously Sydney
yeah.
in the 400 flat, and Ryan
Hmm,
Krauser.
yeah.
Um,
The main TV channel
yeah.
in Italy is RAI, and at the Diamond League in Rome, Rai was going around saying, "Have you seen it? They're all supporting me."
He is such a good guy. Oh, and he told me next year 200 and 400, man.
Mm, right.
And he's going to probably do the 300 indoors with
Mm,
because I got him and Vernon Norwood, and I love
yeah.
Vernon. Vernon is
I
just,
like Vernon a
you
lot,
know,
yes.
and I said, guys, do I get to see you guys do the 300 again? He goes, yeah, we're thinking about it, man, but just,
Mm,
he said, wait a little bit. And so
mm,
I waited, 2 months, so I
yeah.
behaved. Um,
Mm,
the, yeah, it was really, oh, and Anna Hall, I thought
mm,
Anna's performance
yes.
in Kyle Garland in the deck, um,
Hmm.
but, Katarina Johnson Thompson,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, she needs some real respect
Mm,
because, I would love to get Jessica Ennis Hill and say, Jessica, tell us what you think about Katarina and explain to the readers what it's like to go that long and compete.
hmm. Yeah.
Because KJT's been around for a while now,
Oh,
man.
she has. Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
the injury stuff she's dealt with, and I just remember
Yeah.
being with Jessica in
Mm.
2011 in Daegu when she
Me
knew
too.
she,
Yeah.
yeah, when she
Mm,
knew she'd been beat by someone who
mm,
was enhanced, and
mm,
she showed class. Jessica's
mm,
always been a classy athlete. And
mhm,
I've it's one of the things about and I do think British athletics, the way that they train their athletes in terms
mm,
of dealing with media. And
mm,
Josh Kerr, my heart goes out to Josh because I picked him to win.
mm,
And I just interviewed his assistant coach who told me that the injury came up in the semi, that
mm,
he felt like a cramp, and they
mm,
did everything they could, and they thought they were going to be okay. And I remember
mm,
watching the sec that
mm,
right up before the 800 when he literally tightened up, and then it was over.
mm.
Um, but for him to finish, I thought was very
Yeah.
gutty.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
the and he'll be back. I mean, he's
Oh,
he's
yeah.
tra he's training again, and
Mm,
it's one of the things that we try to tell our dear readers about is that we've had championships now since 2021.
mm, yeah.
2022, 2023, 2024, 2025.
Yes.
We're going to have this
Yep.
Ultimate Games in 26. We're going to have 2027. in Beijing again, which should be fun. And then we're going to have
Yeah.
2028 in LA, and
Mm,
I sure
yeah.
hope that doesn't get messed up because it's
And
just, go ahead.
and I was going to say, if you're talking about Josh, you've got a
Yeah.
Commonwealth Games in Glasgow and a European Championships in Birmingham.
Yeah. And
So pressure to perform for the home crowd twice.
yeah, and I'm looking forward to both of those.
Mm,
I got to tell you, the Commonwealth Games
mm,
in Glasgow, I get to eat haggis for 14 straight days. So,
yeah.
Stuart, over here, I don't know if you're on Instagram at all, but over
Mm,
here, there's a Scottish group that has created a haggis animal, and they've
hmm
got hundreds of thousands of people that follow it, and they have these different. It looks like a sheep has mated with a rabbit or a
hmm
guinea pig, and it is so
Right.
funny, but they're
Yeah.
so serious about it. And there's people
Yeah.
who believe they exist, Stuart. Oh my
Right.
gosh,
Yeah.
it's just like
Yeah.
so. I can't wait to
But
to be in Scotland with the crazy people.
well, yeah, except you'll only be allowed to come if you can get the US to join the Commonwealth.
Well, we had people believing that. That's still one of my favorite of all time. And who was the God? Oh, there was that one guy. There was a writer. He's since retired, who
Mm,
was always full of a lot of energy, and
mm,
he really bought into the that the
yeah.
U.S. was. And
Mm,
President Trump said something about it a few months ago that he was
mm,
considering bringing the U.S. in the Commonwealth, and I'm just kind of going, wow, would that shake up the
mm,
the event? Uh,
mm.
oh my gosh, craziness. But Stuart, you have survived 72 minutes with me.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And
Mm,
I know you're going to need a hot tea and
yep.
and you get to watch a little TV tonight, but thank you for taking the time
Okay.
this evening, my friend. This
Good
is
to talk.
Athletics Chat. It's Stuart Weir, who is the senior writer for Europe and the UK for Run Blog Run. And
Mm.
I'm Larry Eder, and I pretend to be the editor of Run Blog Run. Have a great evening.